Welcome. JBS is proud to partner with the Upper East synagogues of KJ, Park Avenue Synagogue, and Central Synagogue to celebrate Israel's Day of Independence and remember the fallen soldiers of the IDF and victims of terror who've given their lives over the years for the State of Israel. This is Israel's 74th birthday, and we welcome all of you, our viewers, as we come together as a community to mark this momentous occasion. Let's pass it on to our dear rabbis.
Bruchim Abaim, welcome to each and every one of you, wherever you may be, as all of us from around the world take note, observe, and celebrate the 74th year of the State of Israel's existence. We are here on the Upper East Side, but our hearts are actually in the East, in Eretz Yisrael, the global community of the Jewish people, of the world community, coming to celebrate this momentous date in our calendar. I'm Rabbi Elliot Cosgrove of Park Avenue Synagogue. These are my dear friends, Rabbi Angela Buchdahl of Central Synagogue and Rabbi Chaim Steinmetz of Keilat Jeshurun. It's wonderful to welcome everyone here this evening.
I'm so thrilled to be here with two of my dearest rabbinic colleagues here on the East Side, and to be able to celebrate Israel together. When Rabbi Steinmetz gathered us for the first time as a threesome on his bima, maybe about 6 years ago, we talked about the differences between the denominations. We represent Orthodox, Reform, and Conservative Judaism. But we also said that we know that what we share together is a love of Eretz Yisrael and a desire to engage together as a wider Jewish community on that. So this is not our first time coming together, but I feel like we are able to reach a much bigger audience through JBS tonight, and we are so glad that wherever you are, that you are with us.
Absolutely, and we're here on the bima of Park Avenue Synagogue, here on the Upper East Side, but of course we're joining everyone around the world who is watching this Tekes Ma'avar. And I just want to explain what a Tekes Ma'avar is. It literally means a bridging ceremony. In Israel, Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day, is the day before Yom Ha'Atzmaut, Israel's Independence Day. And you go from a somber, difficult day, which is challenging, to a day that is filled with celebration. And the only way you can do that is with a special ceremony that allows us to bridge from one to the other. Welcome, and we are so happy you are joining us this evening.
Together, we come as a community, as part of Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Remembrance of the State of Israel, to remember those who gave their lives, the fallen soldiers of the Israel Defense Forces and the victims of terror, all those who gave their lives so that we could have today a strong and vibrant Jewish state. In December of 1947, Israeli poet Natan Alterman wrote a poem, The Silver Platter, speaking about that exact sacrifice. And so he writes, "Through wandering tears, the people stare, who are you, the silent two? And they reply, we are the silver platter upon which the Jewish state was served to you."
We begin with Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day. I'll never forget my very first Yom HaZikaron in Israel. It's so very unlike what Memorial Day feels like with its barbecues and beach days here in the United States. The siren went off in the morning, and this noisy, bustling city came to an abrupt halt. People got out of their cars and stood in somber silence. And I realized that this was one of the most sacred days on Israel's calendar. You see, in Israel, Memorial Day is not just a day of history, it's a day of living memory. And that is who we are as Jews. We don't even really have a real word for history, the Hebrew word for history being historia. clearly a word that we have borrowed. No, we are a people of memory. History is something that can exist on its own in books on a shelf, but memory actually requires rememberers, people who remember. And in Israel, Memorial Day is so powerful because everyone there in that country feels a personal connection to someone who has been lost in bringing this country to existence or in defending its safety. In Israel, Memorial Day demands something of every Israeli. I was thinking about what Yom HaZikaron could mean for us, for those of us who live here in America, who perhaps don't have the same immediate connection. And I'm reminded of our religious obligation on Passover, not just to tell the story of what it was like to be enslaved, but to actually hold it as our own memory. In every generation, we are mandated to know what it was like to have the memory of being enslaved, and that actually compels our existence in the world in a different way when we know that experience. Well, I might challenge each of us to take on the memory of Yom HaZikaron as our own, not just as something that happened to them somewhere far away, but to our people, and a memory that each of us holds. For Israel is a country for all of us, a place of refuge for Jews, whether they came from lands long ago or after the Holocaust, or in Ethiopian airlifts, or perhaps most recently even from Ukraine. Israel is a place, a safe haven for all Jews, and we remember those whose lives have been lost in keeping Israel a safe place for all of us. May it be that their memories are a blessing.
To a settlement in eastern Galilee, the ammunition they were carrying going off in a series of explosions. It was the worst air disaster in Israeli military history, and the Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu, called it an unimaginably heavy tragedy. He's cancelled a visit to Jordan tomorrow. ITN's Andrew Simmons reports from Jerusalem.
For a small country already hardened to war and human loss, what crashed out of the sky in northern Israel was devastating. It was an accident, and in the tangled mass of burning wreckage, there were no chances of survival for dozens of soldiers on board. The men had been packed into two Sikorsky transport helicopters heading towards Lebanon. There were desperate attempts to save lives, but there was little they could do. The helicopters weren't only laden with soldiers and their guns, there were explosives on board. Eyewitnesses spoke of the two helicopters crashing in mid-air and blowing up into pieces. There was heavy fog and rain at the time. Much of the wreckage crashed onto a house. Soldiers broke in looking for casualties. Remarkably, though, there were no civilians injured. As the fires still burned, Israel tried to absorb the scale of this military accident. More than 70 soldiers dead, and at the moment, no explanation as to why the helicopters crashed. This small country is in national mourning tonight, with all radio stations playing somber music. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has called off talks with King Hussein of Jordan tomorrow. Mr. Netanyahu will be sharing in the grief after the worst military accident in Israel's history. Andrew Simmons, News at 10 in Jerusalem.
Shalom. My name is Shveta Stark. I'm the younger sister of Lieutenant Ahmed Starks, Zichrono Livracha. My brother, a hero of Israel, was killed in the biggest disaster the IDF has ever known, the helicopter crash in 1997. Erez was only 21 years old. Erez was one of the 73 IDF soldiers who lost their lives in that horrible accident on one fateful rainy night. They were on their way to Lebanon, protecting northern Israel. A famous Jewish saying teaches that One who saves a life saves a whole world in time. The opposite is true. When Erez died, a whole world died with him. He was the best of the best. Excellent student, popular among his friends, a true leader. He was funny and witty, a charmer with a huge heart. During Erez's service in the communication corps, he lost his best friend, First Lieutenant Asaf Avin, Zichrono Livracha. Erez was by his side, trying to save him, but couldn't. Erez made a promise on the suffering. He swore that from that day on, he will be like a son to Asaf's parents. Visit them, spend time with them, and help them through life after losing their son, his best friend. He was my confidant, my inspiration, and I needed my big brother after a long time. We didn't see each other. On February 4th, 1997, I said goodbye to Erez in the morning. He was not supposed to be there on those helicopters, but one of his soldiers asked him if he could take his place because he had family crisis. Erez didn't hesitate. They left from the landing ground in Mahanaim for their operational activity in Lebanon. Then, close to 7 p.m., in complete darkness, strong winds and rain, on a cold and black night, the helicopters were circling in mid-air, hovering low above the ground. To this day, and despite many investigations, no one really knows what exactly happened. But the two helicopters crashed with sound which resonated all through Israel. At 8:30 p.m., the news started to report it, and around 4 a.m., 4 officers come to deliver the tragic news about Erez's death. It was horrible, one that is engraved in my heart and soul forever. It wasn't easy to keep on living after his death. The pain and suffering were all too much to bear. But I chose life for my parents, for their happiness. For many years, my parents walked to commemorate Erez, his values and leadership. They donated an ambulance on behalf of him, one that saves the lives of men. They were organizing volleyball games in his memory between the teams he played. Sadly, our dear parents died of cancer due to pain and sorrow. I continue to commemorate Erez as promise I gave to my dear parents from their deathbed, to continue doing good in this world. Today, I fight for disabled IDF veterans and those who suffer from PTSD. I escort those who came back from the battlefield with wounded body and soul. Together we dream to build a retreat where those soldiers can be treated and their family members find love and support alongside them. I do it in the name of my beloved brother and his friends who were killed to protect all of us, in the name of their values. As we have no other country when even if our land is on fire. אין לנו ארץ אחרת, גם אם נלמדנו בהם. As I finish, I have personal requests for you. I really on the Memorial Day. Learn about one soldier, about his values, his family, about what he left behind. Take with you a little bit from each of our heroes. Remember them. I'm sure the light will guide your way for a brighter future and love of people and the state of Israel. Thank you, Lior Suchard, from Israel.
שום דבר לא יפגע בי, שום דבר. לא אישה, לא כדור מחבלים, שום דבר. כי ככה נשבעתי לאחי אחותי, להורים. ובכיתי בלילות, ודאגתי בימים. כי פחדתי שמשהו יפגע בהורים, וקולו של אבי מהדהד לי בראש כבר שנים. אם יקרה לך משהו, אין לי טעם בחיים, אין לי טעם למחר. אם אתם עומדים פה מעליי, כנראה שלא עמדתי בהבטחתי. מצטער בחיי, מצטער בחיי, מצטער שום דבר לא יפגע בי, שום דבר. לא אישה, לא כדור מחבלים, שום דבר.
It was July the 12th, 2006, when I received the first reports to my computer at the office at the headquarters in Tel Aviv. Mortars were launched everywhere on the borderline, from Lebanon to the Israeli communities on the other side. A few hours later, I received the first report that 2 soldiers were kidnapped. I knew this is war. I went 1 floor up to my commander, and I told him, we can't have war now since I'm 9 months pregnant. And he said, don't worry, the baby will wait. These are the photos of the 2 soldiers that were kidnapped that day. These are the photos of the 3 soldiers that were killed in the hammer behind that day by Hezbollah's RPG that was launched from the town just above us. This place is full of hate. This place is problematic to protect. The Lebanese on top, the Israeli soldiers were below. That day, a war was open that actually changed my life. because during that war I served in the IDF, and I saw the lack of understanding of the international community of what is happening over here. I saw all the issue of legitimacy again and again and again, every day, how Hezbollah is putting the Lebanese at risk, how Hezbollah is using the Lebanese as human shields, and how people around the world don't fully understand that. And I think this is why eventually I established the Alma Center. The wall that you see behind me, that is based exactly at the kidnapping point here at the Israeli-Lebanese border, commemorates the 121 Israeli soldiers that were killed in that war. Not too many people know that this war was actually opened by Hezbollah, by a terrorist attack of Hezbollah, infiltration and kidnapping inside Israel. And that's why it was so important for me to make sure that in the next war, people will know, people will have the understanding, people will have the access to the knowledge about what is truly going on over here. I am Sarit Zehavi, the founder of the Alma Research and Education Center.
במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מה זהירים לנשמות חללי צבא הגנה לישראל ולוחמי המחתרות וכל כוחות הביטחון ונפגעי הטרור שמסרו נפשם על קדושת השם בעבור שכולנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרו מצרור החיים את נשמותיהם בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם אדוני ונחלתם וינוחו ושלום על משכבם ונאמר אמן.
The Jewish people know one or two things about transitioning from one place, from one stage to another. Think about all the points in the Jewish year when we make a transition. We go from slaves to free people at our Passover Seder. At the conclusion of Shabbat, we go from Kodesh to Chol. At the end of Yom Kippur, we go from one year to the next year. At a Brit Milah, a child enters into the covenant of the Jewish people. Right now is the actual moment of transition of Ma'avar from Yom HaZikaron to Yom Ha'Atzmaut, from Israel's Memorial Day to Israel's Day of Independence on this, its 74th year of its existence. And I think to myself what this transition actually means. What does it mean to go from one stage to the next, always, but especially at this moment? It strikes me that it focuses our attention on the ability to hold multiple emotions all at the same time. It focuses our attention on the fact that we as a people never stand still, but we always move forward from one stage to the next. But here, from Yom HaZikaron to Yom Ha'atzmaut, it signals to us that these two emotional states of being are really two sides of the same coin. That the Atzmaut, the independence that we are celebrating in just a few moments, only comes at the price, the ultimate price of those soldiers who sacrificed, who made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of the Jewish state. And it is the idea that there is no Yom Ha'atzmaut without Yom HaZikaron. That is the message of this moment, that in order to be a sovereign state, we have Israeli soldiers who have given their lives on behalf of that state in order that the Jewish people can be the subjects of their own sentence as opposed to the objects of someone else's. That when we recite those words, Liot am chofshi be'artzenu, to be a free people in our own land, that declaration we say on Yom HaZikaron, we say on Yom Ha'atzmaut, and we say it all together, all at once, at this moment.
ייכון להנפת דגל המדינה לראש התורן. דגלנים, דגל, צ'ק!
Dear sisters and brothers from around the Jewish world, happy Independence Day. Chag Atzmaut Sameach. What a pleasure it is to celebrate 74 years since David Ben-Gurion declared the establishment of the State of Israel, with you, our family in the diaspora, supporting us. Since assuming office of the President of the State of Israel, I am continually amazed by the modern-day miracle of the State of Israel, Medinat Israel, which I am so proud to call everybody's home. In Israel, we have overcome wars, terror, boycotts, just recently experiencing devastating attacks across the streets of Israel, and still keeping our hands outstretched in peace. We have turned an arid and underdeveloped land into a global leader in water reuse, creative agriculture, startup innovation, great science, and what's not. We've built a diverse, multicultural society that takes pride in its Jewish character while insisting upon equal rights, religious freedoms, and a vibrant democracy. We've accomplished all of this together. Yachad Shiftei Israel, Israel, diaspora Jewish communities, and our friends from around the world, hand in hand, as a family. And as we celebrate the past, we also look towards the urgent missions of the future. Chief among them is renewing our commitment to the deep, precious bond between the global Jewish community and the Jewish national homeland. This bond is critical for the future of the Jewish people and critical to the future of the State of Israel. It must be a priority. This can be done by showing up for our fellow Jews in need, be it the Jewish community in Ukraine, which is experiencing unimaginable hardship, or communities throughout the diaspora who offered each other support during COVID, or our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia. This can be done by encouraging Jewish youth to come and experience Israel, to meet, tour, and feel this unique homeland. This can be done by streamlining Aliyah and making Israel as welcoming and as accessible to all who choose to come. This can be done by establishing positive dialogue with all our groups, streams, and individuals who see themselves or wish to be a part of our Jewish people. Let us therefore join hands in the coming year, so that in 1 year from now, next Pesach, please God, on our 75th Independence Day, we will be proudly celebrating our evolving miracle together. Because, as David Ben-Gurion said, in Israel, in order to be a realist, you must believe in miracles. Thank you, brothers and sisters, dear friends. Chag Atzmaut Sameach. Am Yisrael Chai.
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך.
What am I celebrating this year on Yom Ha'Atzmaut? I'm celebrating an old dream, one which has lasted for centuries. It's a dream that extends from Jeremiah to Herzog to Ben Gurion and Begin. It is the dream of Vishavu Banim Ligvulam. The children will return to their homeland. 74 years ago, this dream came true, and the children of Israel returned home. In wave after wave, they came home from around the world, seeking a safe haven, searching for their homeland. And that they came, and that they could come, was nothing short of a miracle. A few weeks ago, I traveled to Poland to visit with the Ukrainian refugees who were escaping from a horrible war. And one morning, we went off to see a group that was just about to immigrate to Israel. They had already endured so much in just a few short weeks. They had lost nearly everything, and their lives had been turned upside down. But now they had hope. When we met with them, they even had some smiles on their faces. Now they had a safe haven to go to. Now they had a place where they would be welcomed and cared for. They could return to their homeland. What am I celebrating this year on Yom Ha'atzmaut? Vishavu Banim Ligvulam. I am celebrating a miraculous homeland, this miraculous state of Israel. Chag Sameach.
My name is Elliot Brandt, and I'm AIPAC's Managing Director for National Affairs. And I'm honored to be part of this beautiful tradition for now the third consecutive year. The Tekes Ma'avar is both a moment of hope and promise, and a moment of reflection and real challenge. We're asked to transcend loss and grief so that we can get to a place of joy and celebration. And bringing many worlds together is what the leadership of KJ and Central Synagogue and Park Avenue Synagogue and JBS have committed themselves to always do. A few weeks ago, I was in Israel with our board of directors. We were there during a wave of knife and gun attacks that murdered Israeli citizens, including one in which a Christian Israeli Arab policeman died saving Israeli Jews. It was a painful time to be there, and it's appropriate to mention it in this seam between Yom HaZikaron and Yom Ha'Atzmaut. But something else happened when we were there. An Abraham Accords summit in the Negev. 4 private planes carrying 4 Arab foreign ministers landed at an Air Force base in Israel. Think about that for a moment. The entire summit was extraordinary, and to highlight any one thing is to miss many things, but I'll mention just 2. The first was that the terror attacks happened while the foreign ministers were on the ground in Israel. And when they happened, all 4 foreign ministers immediately and strongly and publicly condemned the attacks. And not one of them had to call back to their capitals to ask for guidance or for permission. And the second thing I want to mention, actually I want to quote the words of Bahraini Foreign Minister Abdulatif bin Rashid Al Zayani, who said, "We need to put into practice the principles behind the Accords, namely those of dialogue, cooperation, and mutual respect. By doing so, we will demonstrate to the whole region that we can overcome shared regional challenges and seize opportunities in a way that we could not possibly individually." Friends, tonight your rabbis and your synagogues and you are doing together what you cannot do individually. Together you are proving that even amidst hyper-partisan and divisive times, good people, people with different views and different beliefs, can still come together in common cause. I can think of no better way to celebrate the miracle that is Israel than with our own solidarity. And we at AIPAC stand with you as we bring people together, people of different experiences, different backgrounds, even different faiths, in order to preserve and strengthen the bond between the United States and Israel. And to do so, we don't ask that you abandon who you are or what you stand for. Instead, we ask each of you to bring the fullness of who you are into our work together and to find common purpose with others who share our love of Israel. Thank you for your partnership in creating this important and inspiring program and in working together to ensure America and Israel always stand together in sadness and in joy. Thank you.
In a world so full of conflicts and rivalries where each side is determined to hold one-on-one perspectives, well, I've found an extraordinary ray of light. At the heart of the Middle East, within an environment of a fragile social structure, where the southern end of the West Bank overlooks periphery towns neighboring the Gaza Strip, a group of visionary social entrepreneurs have decided to define the pioneering dream of today, bringing light into the desert. Israel was built by local leaders that have come to the inhabited area of the desert or the swamp areas of the nascent state of Israel back when it was nothing but a dream, a vision. The people of the Or movement are the pioneers of our time, and they're working on a long-lasting process, setting goals to 2048, the 100th year anniversary of Israel.
The Negev and the Galil are 75% of Israel, 25% of the people live there, but it's 100% of Israel's future.
So we decided to establish the Or movement. Or means light. It means that we are going to make sure that the positive things are going to happen, that we will continue to build the state of Israel.
So then we just decided to do and not just to talk and establish Sansana with the help of Arik Sharon, moving here in the Israeli Independence Day, April 21st, 1999.
After establishing Sansana, we established another 8 new towns. We expanded more than 50 kibbutzim and moshavim, and all in all we brought 50,000 people to live in 64 communities of the Or movement.
One of Israel's greatest needs is a vision. Since Herzog wrote Alt Neuland and said that the Jewish state will be established, there isn't a large, massive, uniting vision for the people of Israel.
So we created, together with many friends and partners, the 2048 vision, Shared Future for Israel.
If we declare Israel as a 3 centers country, with one main center in the south and one main center in the north, and of course the current center in Tel Aviv area, then it changes the entire reality and it provides so many opportunities and abilities to grow for anybody who lives in Israel today and anybody who will live in the future.
Tachlis, what we do is first to create the roadmap of Israel. How are we going to be 17 million people, to bring 4 million people to live in the Negev and the Galilee and create the new centers of Israel? The second thing is the policy. It's to make sure that the government of Israel will accept and adopt the vision and budget it with lots of billions of shekels. And the third thing is the implementation. It's the proof of concept, the facts on the ground. We keep on building new communities and new towns to expand the existing cities, and all are thanks to our ability to supply all the data to the government, municipalities, and the people that want to move, to initiate and to relocate to the new centers of Israel in the Negev and the Galilee.
So when we started Or, we understood that knowledge is power, and we decided to establish the Negev and the Galil Information Center that has been operating as the National Information Center for anybody who is looking to relocate to the Negev and the Galil since then, already 20 years.
Aside to the Information Center, we invite you all to our Visitor Center to experience the past, the present, and the future of the Negev and the Galilee, the future of Israel. Thanks to the Or teams in the field, we are able to achieve what we achieved so far. We are inviting you to make Aliyah, to come to live in the Negev and the Galilee, to initiate, to act, to be part of building the future of Israel.
Our movement, it's about the spirit, it's about the people, it's about the land. Or is about adding light, not fighting the darkness.
Happy Independence Day from all of us at the O Movement, building the future of Israel.
It's amazing and inspirational to see the creativity and resourcefulness permeating all over Israel, from the pioneering spirit of Zionism to technology, culture, the culinary arts, and so much more. Israel is indeed a land of promise and opportunity, where stars continue to grow and shine with every passing day. One such star is Eli Huli.
Hey guys, my name is Eli Huli. I'm 23 years old, songwriter, singer, and musician. I was born and raised in the mixed city of Lod in Israel, where Jews and Arabs live side by side. I've dreamt about being a musician all my life, and more than it is what I do, it is who I am. I recently took part in the music reality show, The X Factor to the Eurovision, where I came very, very close second, hoping to represent our beloved Israel in the Eurovision. And now I'm so proud to share with you my song, Blinded Dreamers, which I especially wrote for the Eurovision contest. Because just like the US, Israel is a land of possibilities where dreams come true. Wishing Israel and all of us happy Independence Day, Chag Atzmaut Sameach. Enjoy and hope to see you soon in the US.
Started playing guitar, my town never understood the vibe. Such a clown, you should work like everyone from 9 to 5. You need cash, no melodies to stay alive. Mama calling every day, baby, you should go get a degree. Maybe I'm so sorry that it didn't work as planned. You thought your little boy would be a businessman. Time flies, we don't wanna hold back. We're bursting in fire. When we live our desire, we'll sing until our lives crush. Don't care if we won't last. We're blinded dreamers, blinded dreamers. I don't wanna feel it, systematic. Roll my audience like a weed, cause it's a marsh beat. I wanna dodge the 27 club with fame. Wanna sing like it's our last day as a band. Time flies, we don't wanna hold back. We're bursting in fire. When we live our desire, we'll sing until our lives crush. Don't care if we won't last. We're blinded dreamers, blinded dreamers. I keep on singing like time flies, we don't wanna hold back. We're bursting in fire. When we live our desire, we'll sing until our limbs crush. Don't care if we won't last. We're blinded dreamers. Will we live until our limbs crush. Keep on singing like blinded dreamers. Keep on singing like blinded dreamers.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world's greatest mentalist, Lior Suchard.
Lior Suchard.
Lior Suchard.
ליאור סושארד!
Lior Suchard. Lior. Where we got? Try this now. I already know your number. I just love this. I mean, it's nice.
scared.
Oh my God!
Wow!
That is unbelievable. I have no idea how he does what he does. He can read minds. It's amazing. It's unbelievable.
Oh my God!
How did you know that?
Everything is here. Hey, I'm Master Mentalist Lior Suchard, and I want to wish happy birthday to the State of Israel. An amazing country with lots of challenges. So what can I wish you? First of all, nothing but positive thoughts and wonderful thoughts. Even if sometimes it's a little hard to see. That everyone, no matter where they are, and no matter if they have different opinions, will come together. Just like this. I know that sometimes you cannot see the solutions, but if you look from a different perspective, the solution will be right there. Happy 74th birthday, Israel. You know, what you just saw was not a miracle, but our very own state of Israel is. I want to thank you all for your amazing support and love for Israel, and I hope to see you in person in my next events in the US or anywhere in the world. Happy Independence Day, Israel, and to you all. Lots of love.
עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם. סלאם, סלאם, סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם. סלאם, סלאם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם. סלאם, שלום, סלאם עלינו ועל כל העולם. סלאם, שלום. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם. עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו, עוד יבוא שלום עלינו ועל כולם.
הללויה לעולם, הללויה ישירו כולם, במילה אחת בודדה, הלב מלא בהמון תודה, והולם גם הוא איזה עולם נפלא. הללויה עם השיר, הללויה על יום שמאיר, הללויה על מה שהיה ומה שעוד לא היה, הללויה, הללויה לעולם, הללויה ישיר כולם, והענבלים הגדולים יהדהדו בהמון צלילים, ואיתנו הם יאמרו הללויה, הללויה עם השיר, הללויה על יום שמאיר, הללויה על מה שהיה ומה שעוד לא היה, הללויה, הללויה על הכל, הללויה על מחר ואתמול, הללויה ותנו יד ביד ושירו מלב אחד, הללויה, הללויה לעולם, הללויה ישירו כולם, הללויה על מה שהיה ומה שעוד לא היה, הללויה, הללויה על מה שהיה ומה שעוד לא היה,
What an amazing evening this has been. I want to begin first by thanking Park Avenue Synagogue for hosting this event. And I want to thank my colleagues, Rabbi Buchtal and Rabbi Cosgrove, for really coming together. It is incredibly special. It's not often enough. We all have busy schedules. It's even difficult to get a time for the three of us to be together now. But it is always magical when we can be together and bring different parts of the Jewish people together.
It is a gift. And I reflect on the fact that since our last Yom Ha'Atzmaut, the three of us actually, with many other rabbis from New York, were actually able to travel to Israel together. And it was not an easy trip. It was right after Israel had its ceasefire, and it felt like the country was in great pain, but there was something so powerful about all of us being able to be together. And it, again, brought me closer to my colleagues, which is, again, what Israel has done for our people, bring us together.
Amen, amen. It's always just such an honor to sit together. And I think that last year we were, on Zoom together in our little boxes. So when we say B'Shana Haba, here we could look back on last year, B'Shana Haba live, that the three of us are here. I know people are still watching us from afar virtually, but it also makes us think of the possibility that next year we could be doing this live with an entire community full of people, and maybe the year after that, we'll do it live in
Israel.
In Israel.
Amazing.
Book your ticket.
Well, Chag Sameach, everybody.
Chag Sameach, everyone.
Oh
That was beautiful. Thank you so much to all of you, our viewers, and to our wonderful partners of the Upper East Synagogues, AIPAC, and so many more. And to you especially for coming together with us, not just to remember those who gave their lives for Israel, but also to celebrate Israel's 74th birthday. So from all of us here at JBS, Chag Atzmaut Sameach, Happy Independence Day, and Happy Birthday Israel. See you all again right here next year and many more years to come. Shalom from JBS.